And I tap him on the shoulder. And he rolls over onto his stomach and he's looking straight up. And I see him blinking a couple times. He's like, okay. Don't quite know what he's doing. Then he turns in my direction and his eyes are about to shut. And just before they shut, his whole body goes tense. He's like, oh great, he sees me. Now we can have these conversations. He wakes up, his eyes open up, and then they go so wide I can see the whites of his eyes complete around, and he screams. Okay. Somebody finally sees me. Somebody living finally sees me. They're not astral projecting. They see me, and it's scary. And I shot out their window, went ground level. I went through two ponds and a silo, shooting back to my body, hit my chair so hard I flew out of it and landed on the ground and landed on the floor. I was happy I landed on the floor and didn't go through to the basement, but landed. My parents like, you okay? And I said, I fell out of bed. If they would have come upstairs to see where I landed, they would have known I did not land in the bed. I was not in the bed when I fell because I hit the chair. I hit the chair and I flew backwards and landed almost at my door, about 8 feet away from the bed. If they would have come upstairs, they would have seen. There's no possible way I fell out of bed and landed at the door. So I was like, okay. All the explorations that I'm doing is scary. Because my cousin saw me and screamed. And he's not the type to scream for nothing. So I decided I must be doing something that is scary or possibly evil. So let me do some research, because here up to this point I've been doing all this stuff. It was fun, it was exciting, it was a little confusing with my mom me not being able to see my mom or my aunts or my grandma. That was a bit weird, but seeing the spouses just fine. Something was strange. So I decided I'm going to look a little bit deeper into that book of He Came to Set the Captives Free. And every time that Rebecca Brown would write about calling out on the name of Jesus, it would be like that word jumped up off the page of me and just began to into my eyes. It didn't hurt, but it felt like as it was going into my eyes, it was unpeeling something, unwrapping something I could not figure out. And so I'm doing all of that. I'm thinking, okay, I don't understand what's going on. I got to read that Bible. I got to read that book, because that book is what taught me to get into the evil. But each time I see Jesus, it just it feels like suddenly I'm in a cage. Why would I be in a cage if I'm doing what I want? This is not making sense. So I work. I get focused and I do the things I'm supposed to do for 2 weeks to catch up so that I can go over to my cousin's house. And it was funny to me then that it was so painfully long to pedal when I could, in astral projection, I could think my way over. But actually physically going over there, it was almost painful. And so I get over there and I'm talking to my aunt, and I said, I'm here to talk with my cousin. And she's like, good luck. And I said, well, what's going on? She says, about 2 weeks ago, he had a nightmare and he won't come out of the room. And good luck. I said, oh, okay. So I go in. And what he said completely reset every perspective. Because I walked in, he's like, oh, hi, Norm. It's you. But this time you have your body. what? He's like, no. I said too much already. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you. I said, come on. I'm older than you. I know this. I know scary stuff. I know I've seen more scary stuff than you have. Come on, tell me. He's like, promise you won't tell anyone else until I figure out what happened. I said, yeah, I promise. He says, I was laying on my side because I'd heard the dog bark and I heard the chickens going nuts and I knew something was outside and I'm just waiting to see if I can hear something else. And all of a sudden I feel something tap me on the shoulder. And so I lay down on my back because I know the sound of each one of my family members by how they breathe. But I didn't hear any breathing. I thought maybe I was just imagining it, so I turned over onto my side to where the door is, and there's something in between me and the door. I thought at first I was imagining it, but then it continued, and then it moved, and I focused a bit more, and I see the head of somebody I recognize. It's your head, Norm. It was just your head. It was your face, but the eyes were red and glowing. I was like, okay. Well, I have to tell you, that was not a nightmare. I was here. I don't know how to tell you what I was doing, but I was here. And I can tell you, to the best of my ability or knowledge, I will never do that again. And he says, wait, you're telling me you were here? I was like, yeah. He says, then why was it? I said, listen, I got into something. I thought it was going to be fun, but okay. I said, I don't know what, I'm going to have to look into it. And when I figure it out, I'll come back and I'll tell you. It took me 20 years to figure out what was happening.
Thanks for watching. This was just a short clip from the full episode of God's Voice Today podcast. And if you want to see the full story, it should be on the screen right now. So don't miss it.